everybody. Good morning. My name is Ben Holden. I am a trustee, Libraries Connected, an independent trustee, and I'm very excited to. Oh, there's a bit of an echo, but I'm very excited to welcome you all this morning to this webinar and on the Microgrants program, and it's a great opportunity to learn from the first round of funding. An amazing breadth and range of initiatives have been funded across the country, and thank you to Arts Council for this opportunity to partner on this and to fund these initiatives, which all sound very, very exciting. We're going to hear about a few of them, but also the key today is to draw some learnings and looking towards the next round, and also bolstering the approach to applications and how we can always enhance and improve everything. And that goes for Libraries Connected as well as everyone applying and working through this process. So I'm going to pass over to Tess, and she'll lead us through the webinar, but it's great to have so many people here, and good morning, and hopefully this is a really instructive and insightful session for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to share my screen. So yeah, my name's Tess Blades. I'm a project manager at Libraries Connected. And I thought this is a great opportunity to kind of, like Ben says, just reiterate the funding that is available and learnings from rounds 1 and 2. So I'm going to do a quick overview for anyone that is new to the Microgrants programme. Again, so funded by Arts Council England. So libraries can bid for between £1,000 and £5,000. Public school library services and prison libraries delivered by the Public Library Service within England are eligible to apply, and there have been 3 rounds. So I'll do a bit of an update of where we are in those 3 rounds in a moment. So we have identified 4 project outcomes, so skill and confidence development, so enhancing library staff skills and confidence in applying for funding. Initiative advancement, so enabling library services to develop larger initiatives, so providing for that resource, consultation, data collection to develop a case for a bigger project or another funding bid. Fair distribution, so ensuring microgrants are distributed geographically and across the universal library offers. Also thinking about the types of library service, so I talked about prison and school library services delivered by the Public Library Service as well, and effective grant delivery models. So we're hoping to develop and test a grant delivery model that's robust for potential longer term use that libraries find easy to navigate and Libraries Connected can administer efficiently. So based on the feedback from both applicants and the review panel, following rounds 1 and 2, we have made a few tweaks to the application process and timing. So we asked the Microgrants Project Board if we could have the round open for a certain period of time rather than being open until a certain amount of money was applied for. So we now have a 2-week application window for round 3. So the application portal will open on the 6th of January and close at the end of the day on the 17th of January. So we have the grant management software Apply by SurveyMonkey, so completed applications should be submitted through that online system. We will share the link to the portal in the normal ways, Libraries Connected website and on Basecamp closer to the time, so keep your eyes peeled there. We have had feedback from the first 2 rounds that people have found the system easy to use, but we do have guidance available should you need it. We also have a Word version of the questions, which we'll share in the follow-up email from this session, so you can be fully prepared for round 3. So once the applications are made, a panel of reviewers has been established from the libraries sector and the Arts Council to review each of the applications. So those review panel meetings are held quarterly following the submission deadlines. So round 2 submissions will be considered by the review panel on the 30th of January, and applicants will be advised of the outcome shortly thereafter. So in terms of assessment criteria, we have tried to design a process that is as light touch as possible. So essentially evidencing the need, how the initiative will meet the need, and how you'll demonstrate that the need has been met. So the assessment criteria link really closely to the questions in the application form on the software. So the review panel assess the proposals on their ability to demonstrate the evidence of the need. So has this been identified through working with communities, using local data, demonstrating understanding of your local community? That the proposed activity meets the need, so what you plan to do to meet the need, alignment with one or more universal library offer, impact of the project on library users, staff, or the broader community. So, for example, expected numbers of people reached, the target audience. It could be that a scoping report has been completed, or you now have the ability to submit a follow-up report. And finally, a consideration of legacy and sustainability. So this is something that was talked about a lot at the review panel for round 1. So does this lead to a larger initiative or a scalable national initiative, or continuing with alternative funding? So just linking back to that outcome number 1, which is skill and confidence development. So the grant management software allows us to capture the comments from reviewers, which in turn means we can provide, like really quite extensive feedback specific to those applications to both successful and unsuccessful applicants. As I said, there were some key themes coming out of the review, which will be covered shortly by Gemma Conway from Barnsley Libraries, who is one of the review panel members. So you will find out if you've been successful via email after the review panel meetings. If successful, the applicant would receive a funding award letter with supporting terms and conditions, which would need to be signed and returned to Libraries Connected within 2 weeks, as per the Arts Council terms and conditions. We do recommend investigating your local arrangements around acceptance of funding. So sometimes this can slow down projects getting started. So it's best to be ahead of the game and understand what information might be required, or any sort of internal approvals that you might need to get for accepting funding. So as I said, round 1 has been completed. So 15 projects were funded. I'll be able to share the full list of funded projects, which is on our website shortly after this. But I thought I'd share a few examples of funded projects to give a little taster. So in Lincolnshire, they have been funded to run costume swaps and creative workshops across Lincoln libraries in the weeks leading up to World Book Day 2025. So they're offering parents practical, low-cost support for creating or borrowing costumes, which is building on the success of a pilot that they ran in 2024. So the initiative aims to reduce the stress and, kind of financial pressures of costume making, while also promoting the joy of reading. So as you can see, there's a huge scope for sharing nationally, and fits really nicely with the kind of green sustainability agenda also. In Sefton, they're using this microgrant plus some match funding to create an intergenerational program, which will deliver an exhibition highlighting the history and development of gaming with wraparound program featuring workshops and a volunteering sort of skill sharing strand. And finally, Lewisham Library. So they're establishing a lending library of screen-free audio players. So those devices would be shared. They're in Lewisham, they're targeting families who may have limited access to reading resources, so including non-native English speakers, supported by workshops for parents to build confidence in reading aloud. And the initiative seeks to enhance children's literacy, language acquisition and engagement with reading. And later in this webinar, we will hear from a couple of the funded libraries about how they went about preparing their application and the projects that they have been funded to deliver. I won't go too much into this, but just to give you like a quick overview of evaluations. So we're using a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods to evaluate alignment with those 4 project outcomes. So we have actually got some questions in a poll here for this session to get some live feedback, a couple of questions at the beginning and another at the end, which Debbie is administering beautifully for us, just so we can capture some live data there. But we will also have a full survey at the end. So this is to kind of assess confidence in writing funding applications, pursuing alternative funding sources, and feedback on the process and the sharing of information. We'll have a baseline survey for all applicants prior to decision notification, and then 6 months post-funding, another one to kind of evaluate outcomes such as any additional funding that might have been obtained, success rates, confidence improvements, and longer term impacts. We will ask for a narrative report. This is sort of a 250-word reflection on the project. So we expect initiatives to be completed within 6 months. That's the sort of time frame that we have available to us. So just a couple of insights from the interim evaluation that's just been completed. 17% of respondents submitted a funding bid for the first time. Applicants reported actually improved clarity and structure in project planning, and they've also leveraged the process to refine and scale their project ideas. The process encouraged collaboration with community partners, cultural organisations and local authorities, as well as increased confidence in future application attempts. So comments are suggesting that this funding programme is also acting as a training opportunity for staff to support team members that have little or no experience of grant applications, from sort of project planning, writing the application, project execution and delivery. So just to finish, I just wanted to refer back to the first outcome around enhancing library staff skills and confidence in applying for funding. We have tried to design this process to be as simple and accessible as possible, and would encourage library services and branch libraries staff at all levels to give it a go. So please do share it with your teams. Branch libraries are welcome to apply, as I said, and the application process will ask for staff to ensure that their head of service is aware of their application. We can only accept 1 application per service per funding round, so the first one that we receive will be considered. We have received permission from the 3 library services that received the highest scores from the review panel to share their applications as examples of well-written proposals. So these will be included in the follow-up email after the session. And Libraries Connected is available to provide support either via email or for individual Teams meetings. So please do get in touch if you have any questions. So thanks again to Arts Council England for this funding for the Microgrants project, which has already supported a variety of interesting and innovative activities. So I'm now going to hand over to Gemma Conway from Barnsley Libraries, one of the review panel members, who's going to talk through some sort of hints and tips for successful applications and themes from the initiatives from round 1.
Thanks, Tess. Morning, everyone. So I'm going to take you through a few of the kind of learning points for us as assessors on the programme, on the review panel so far, just to give you the best chance possible at applying for the grant. I'm just going to share my screen, and I've borrowed a few images for this presentation, just for illustration purposes. So hopefully that's coming up now for everybody. There we go.
Good.
Okay, so the first thing is really that evidence of need, as Tessa just spoke about. So when you're thinking about your project and writing your application, it's really important to tell us why there's a need for this in your library. And you can do that in a number of ways, but supporting your application with local research alongside national evidence or statistics gives us the information that we need as assessors to show that there's a real evidence of the need for your project. I've just put a few examples on here and given you an example just from Barnsley, from where I work. So where library sits in Barnsley within the council, we're within public health, and I could potentially use our local health strategy and data to support my application, show how my work feeds into the bigger picture, any kind of targets that you might have if that's applicable for your project. But there are plenty of national plans and research out there to look at, depending on the type of project that you want to apply for. This could be using your own library strategy or local data or community feedback, working with your partners. It's just really important to show us the case for why you want this project to happen in your library. One of the things from the first round was around budget transparency, and it's really important that you're as transparent as you can be by breaking down the costs for every element of your project. So if you pop in one big lump sum of £5,000, it doesn't give us an awful lot to go on around proof that your project's feasible. So are you paying for artists? Are you buying tools and equipment? Are you enhancing your stock or spending your funding on engagement? It's important to break down all those elements and think about how long the budget will last for. If you're paying freelancers, account for day rates or session prices, and tell us how many, if you can, of those that you anticipate your project to be able to fund. If you've got budget developed from quotes or estimates, you can say that as well, just to give us a clear picture of how and when the project would run. Similar to the budget, really, breaking down the milestones and the timeline of your project again is really important to show us as assessors that the project's feasible and that you've thought through how to realistically plan, deliver and evaluate your project. Ensure that it's lined up with the funding period as well, that this round is contained within. So just make sure that that timeline all fits within what you're asking from Libraries Connected. If there's any legacy outcomes in that project timeline, you can include those as well. Just keep it clear and simple. You don't have to go into lots and lots of detail around each area, but just show us that you've really thought through from the beginning to the end and how long your project will last. The next part that we were talking about in our assessment panel was around the legacy and planning for that from your project. So again, it's really important for us to see how the project might have a benefit and be sustainable in your library going forward. So you might not be able to quantify that at the start, especially if you've applied for a new piece of work or you're wanting to test a new way of working. And of course, you'll be using your evaluation to show that impact and how the project could have a legacy during the project or once it's been delivered. But if you are planning on creating something that can continue and you see it continuing, then it's really good to be clear and explain how you'd support that future delivery of the project once the grant funding ends, particularly around, staff training and development. Is that going to help you continue that into the future? Are you looking at other match funding? Is this giving you a step up to apply for other grants? Or indeed, if you've bought materials and equipment and purchased those through your project, it's good for us to see how you might use those into the future without the continued funding from the microgrant. And finally, the last theme really was around the partnership and outreach. So it's really, again, another important element. If you're collaborating with other organisations, tell us about them and what they will bring to your project, or how they've enhanced your activity. Or again, if this is something that you've come up with as an idea together. A lot of the applications that were successful in the first round were telling us the data from their partners and what communities wanted. So again, that's another important element to show the need for your project locally. Again, if it's about reaching new audiences, working together to achieve similar outcomes, if you're going to be bringing in any match funding or looking at alternative funding, you can explain that and show how you might continue the work in your library. It's all around your own personal, local initiatives and your own library, and how that's going to really benefit your communities. We want you to sort of explain how using partnerships or outreach activities will help you achieve your goals. So overall, as assessors, it just helps us to assess and review if you're really succinct and clear with what you want to do with your project. Just as a quick recap here, write your application against the microgrant questions that you've been asked for with that really clear evidence of need, and just ensure that you've included a realistic budget breakdown alongside your project plan, and that can be uploaded as an additional document if you haven't got the space within the main body of the answers. I know some people did that in the first round. Ensure that timeline marries up with the funding period and that it's realistic for you to deliver. Again, the legacy planning is really important. Tell us about how you're going to achieve those goals and mention those partners that you want to work with and who can support your work. There's a lot more information on the website, including the previous webinars and further guidance. And it gives you an example there and break down how you can look a little bit further into that guidance on what you need in each of those areas. In terms of the themes that were coming out from the first round, you've sort of covered some of those already, but there was a really wide range of things, and it was really exciting to see some new activities, some test bed cases, things like the Lincolnshire Libraries trying to spread that kind of positive message of sustainability across the piece, when we know how hard it is every year to try and come up with a new World Book Day costume. Some of the gaming and the ideas and activities that were coming out were really exciting, and things that worked well in the first round really showed how it was going to support that particular local library and that particular local community. So a huge good luck to everybody applying in the next round, and hopefully that kind of whistle-stop tour of a few of the top tips will really help you to focus and apply for that next grant.
That's amazing, Gemma. Thank you so much for sharing that insight into the discussions that the review panel had. That's really helpful. Thank you. So next up, we have Charlotte Hyam from Bolton Library Service, who wrote an amazing application and was funded through round one. So she's going to talk through how she went about putting together that proposal and what she's planning to deliver.
Hi, I'll just share my screen. Hopefully it'll work.
Looks good.
Thank you. Excellent. Right. Hi, I'm Charlotte Hyam, and I'm a Library Access Officer for Bolton Libraries, a museum service with a remit for health and wellbeing. And I'm going to talk about our application for a microgrant. An overview of the project was included in our application, which also detailed our intended audience, reasons for applying, and how we gathered and utilised data. Bolton Libraries have been very fortunate in being successful in our application to the Microgrant Fund to purchase a digital rainbow table. A digital rainbow table is a 40-inch sensory digital touchscreen tablet, which includes numerous interactive and stimulating games, which are designed to improve cognitive function and mental agility. As it is portable, sessions can be delivered throughout our libraries, therefore reaching a wider audience. We've been previously delivering various activities for adults with additional needs, such as arts and crafts and bingo sessions. These have all been very well received and well attended. So we wanted to offer more varied sessions for adults with additional needs, to be inclusive of those who may not have the dexterity to participate in art and craft sessions. We decided to write a microgrant fund application to purchase a digital rainbow table, to be able to deliver a wider range of sessions for adults with additional needs. The table will allow adults with more profound disabilities to participate in the sessions, as the table's apps, such as the colouring, the jigsaws, piano, etc., only require the use of a finger. We will work with several local organisations to deliver sessions to their users. I attended a microgrant projects webinar delivered by Libraries Connected, which included information about the purpose of the grant, the application process and funding distribution, all of which was very useful in deciding what information to include in our application. We also looked at the need for provision. To be able to demonstrate a need for more activities, we researched local statistics regarding the number of adults with additional needs living in Bolton. The Joint Strategic Needs Assessment, the JSNA, was a very useful document as it gave details of how many adults in Bolton were receiving long-term support for a learning disability. A lot of authorities have the JSNA, so it's a really useful document to look at. We also researched national statistics regarding adults with additional needs, as we wanted to have a wider understanding of not just numbers and types of additional needs, but how adults felt and what they wanted. Scope are a disability equality charity who we do work with, and they aim to create an equal future with disabled people. There are many striking statistics when researching accessibility and disability, but one that we found particularly significant was that 49% of working age adults feel excluded from society because of their condition or impairment. By providing more activities designed for adults with disabilities, we can try to address this statistic. Also, according to a study by Gilmore and Cuskelly, people with a learning disability are also more likely to experience chronic loneliness, which is 50% compared to around 15 to 30%. By providing interactive sessions with the Rainbow Table, the library service will also promote and deliver the Council's priorities, which includes the Bolton vision of our residents to have greater self-worth and happiness with access to creative, cultural and volunteering opportunities, plus stronger, cohesive, more confident communities in which people feel safe, welcome and connected. In our application, we detailed how we intended to plan the project. Local groups and organisations who work with adults with additional needs were contacted to ascertain that there would be people who would benefit from attending sessions using the Rainbow Table. All were enthusiastic and welcomed the idea. From these conversations, it was evident that there was a keen interest in the table and a need for free, accessible, enjoyable and interactive sessions. The Rainbow Table has many apps which will enable a wider range of needs to be accommodated, as the apps and games on the table can be tailored to suit different abilities and offer opportunities for cognitive stimulation and skill development. Initial training is provided by the table's manufacturer, which we can then cascade to other staff. Staff will be invited and encouraged to attend the delivery of the sessions, which will allow them to gain extra experience and knowledge, as many will not have previously worked with adults with additional needs. This in turn will only benefit our service. The more staff who can run these sessions, the better, as then we can deliver more. We also looked at the anticipated impact and legacy of the Rainbow Table and included this in our application. At the attendees' first Rainbow Table activity session, we will work with them and their carers and compile a brief report of each person, which will include information such as their willingness to interact with both other attendees and the equipment, behaviour and participation in the games. We'll also find out what sort of activities they'd enjoy doing, such as jigsaws, music, sports, etc., which will allow us to tailor the sessions for each group and hopefully make it a more enjoyable experience. A subsequent report will be completed at the end of the project to see if these initial observations have changed, including written feedback from carers and anecdotal evidence observed of the participants at the sessions, plus oral feedback where possible. We currently deliver activity sessions for people living with dementia, as well as children with additional needs. And going forward, the Rainbow Table will be embedded within the library services and will also be used with both of these groups, who will benefit from using the table and hopefully enjoy the interactive and stimulating games. And we're really looking forward to starting this project. Thank you. If anybody has any questions.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. I'm just reminded of the, the impact that you made with that evidencing of the need, the data that you pulled in, and like how that just makes such a strong and compelling case. I think there was a hand up then. Did someone want to ask a question? Pop it in the chat if you have a question, if you prefer. Here we go. Share any details about the budget if that's something. We are actually going to be sharing the full proposal in the follow-up email. So, but Charlotte, if you're happy to share anything more about that, then please do.
Yeah, we did apply for the full £5,000 grant because the size of the Rainbow Table, we got the larger one, and that was virtually the full £5,000. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for presenting. That was really interesting. So next up, we have Dan Kinnair from Newcastle Library Service to talk about the Newcastle pop-up library that was funded through the project.
Hello. Just bring up my presentation.
Great, we can see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Hi. I'm Dan Kinnair, Service Development Manager for Newcastle Libraries. And our project, as you can see, is pop-up libraries. We gained the microgrant funding from Libraries Connected and have only just started the process. So I'm here to talk about how we got here, why we want to try a pop-up concept, and what led us to this point. It all began at one of our smallest branch libraries. Prior to even knowing about microgrants, we had to make a decision to relocate a branch which was set in a residential area out in the outskirts of Newcastle.
But the building had historically been transferred from Newcastle City Council and became part of a community asset trust, which meant we had little control over the space, unfortunately. And as time went on, barriers such as rent, opening hours, parking charges all came quite prohibitive. And in 2023, we held a peer review survey and we received about just short of 3,000 responses citywide, but only 39 in relation to the branch in question. The footfall had dropped so low that we knew we wouldn't get much of a turnout for that. And for those that did respond to that survey, many of the concerns were raised about the opening hours and the parking, so things that were at that point beyond our control. So we selected the branch as a trial and pulled out of that location and moved off to a shared space in a leisure facility. And at that point, we were calling it a pop-up library. But without any of the funding that was linked to this microgrant, we came up with a program of events and activities and publicised them locally. And we found that things like the summer reading challenge activities were fully booked in the new location. So we held some consultation with the customers that were seen at that site and with the local ward councillors and the portfolio holder and the leisure centre management, and came up with sort of a bigger plan. So that programme is regularly reviewed, and we take suggestions from people who visit our site and put them forward where possible to integrate them into the schedule moving forward each month. So at the moment, we've got regular activities, which include sort of story times, knitting groups, universal credit support. And we hope to start things like local history and mother and baby groups that have been suggested over the last few weeks. The benefit to the leisure centre was the added promotion, the added footfall during what was previously quiet periods, and the additional sales in their cafe that we're sort of inhabiting. And in return, we enjoy a lovely new facility where we get to use all that's on offer. So there's an outdoor play area that's barely used. Lots of green, open space, comfortable, warm environment, refreshments, and it's really easily accessible, centrally located in the community. So it's worked really well for us. More generally, we've had many reasons to want to try this pop-up concept. So like all of you, I imagine we've got more electoral wards than we've got libraries. We've got lots of areas in the city that aren't particularly well covered by our library network. And we've also got new developments such as the Great Park development, which is the largest housing development in the northeast, with over 4,000 homes to be created by 2030. So as the city expands, our budget doesn't, and our number of libraries obviously don't. So we've got lots of partners around the city that do have premises that we may be able to use, sites in locations that we've got gaps, places like family hubs, sure start centres, leisure facilities, shopping centres, and they've all expressed an interest in accommodating these pop-ups. Working together will benefit both parties, so sharing expertise, customer base and resources, while serving as outreach and promotion for libraries. We've been approached by internal partners such as the Skills Hub, who are interested in accompanying our libraries around the city to deliver out and about in the community. And internally, we've got people like the Reading for Wellbeing officers, Universal Credit Support officers, and Get Online team, who will all supplement with the pop-up library at the various locations. We've contacted internal departments within Newcastle City Council who've indicated they've got assets that would be worth more as a social benefit rather than being sold off. So hopefully that'll be potential new sites and possible new funding applications in the future. So we'll treat pop-up libraries as a promotional roadshow to exhibit what we've got to offer. And it actually comes as a great time for us because we've got 2 new developments that we want to shout about, and we'll be taking the pop-up around the west of the city for our new Outer West library and leisure centre, which was part of the Levelling Up Fund. And in the east of the city, we've got a new library being relocated and funded by the Arts Council Library Improvement Fund. Now, I will apologise for my crude artist impression of what our pop-up library looks like, but I do think it's important to give you an idea of what I'm talking about visually. So we enlisted a cross-section of our team to be involved in the decision making. So staff at every level have shaped what they believe are the most important components of what this pop-up should include. So it'll be a compact kit, easily accommodated onto one of our internal delivery vans and taken around the city. The shelving is sort of those bifolding cupboard units that lock the stock inside. They're going to be coordinated in colour with our existing colour themes. So our children's area is yellow and our fiction's green. So it ties in with what's familiar to our customers. And those 4 units have capacity for around about 700 books for the 150 on the inside and around about 50 displayed on the outside. It'll also include branded accessories, so the teardrop flags, cafe-style barriers, something to give us a defined space and ensure that we're easily recognised and we can promote our service wherever we go. We'll include tables and seating that'll either fold or stack for transport, activity mats for story times, baby groups, first words together, that kind of thing. SIM-enabled IT to be used anywhere, so we're not dependent on anyone else's Wi-Fi. Digital screens that we might have on the tables for promotional displays or customer survey, touchscreen feedback surveys. We will create a new branch on our library management system for the statistics, the all important borrow and issue and new member statistics. So all in all, it's a really low, small outlay for a library that we're going to use in any location around the city and can easily be replicated if it becomes a success. And that's me.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, it's just such a brilliant example about building on like a small pilot of activity and something that's worked on a smaller scale and kind of with this bit of funding kind of developing it, and I'm really interested to see, sort of where it goes next. Oh, I think I saw a question come up then. Did anyone want to ask a question?
It was me.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, really interesting concept there. 2 questions. How long are the pop-up libraries open for in each location? And then second question is, what do you do about getting the stock back if the library is open in a location but the people taking the stock can't get to any of your other locations?
Yeah, so at the moment we've got 2 half days at that small branch in the outskirts, Wednesday mornings and Friday afternoons. So it's a regular session.
All right. So, but is it there for any, like only for a finite amount of time? Like, is it only going to be open for 3 months, or because pop-up to me implies transient?
Yes. So at the moment, this is pop-up and consistent in that location. Down the line, it might be that there's less consistency, or it might be that we try a location and it doesn't work. So I guess it's sort of suck it and see. The intention is probably to do half days in different locations. We'll do them for a run of time and give people a fair chance and fair warning when that's going to come to an end. So would hope that we'll be able to recover the stock, but it's not the end of the world. We're not too concerned about a few books having a new home if we don't recover them.
That sounds really interesting.
A couple of other questions in the chat. Is it staffed, and if so, is it from your current workforce or new posts? And did you have to purchase a van to carry it around?
We've got an internal delivery van. It's an electric van that we're going to use for this, so it's not fully used all the week. So we'll have plenty of time to accommodate our normal rounds. We might have to rearrange them, but it's the existing van that we use because we've got 14 branches around the city. So it's out and about all the time. And staff, it is going to be released from our existing model. So we'll have the capacity to send somebody out. Usually they'll be accompanied by somebody that remote works anyway. So we've got a universal credit officer who goes around the city and will take them from a location that's not particularly well used at the moment, and they can go to the pop-up on that day. Or the Reen for Wellbeing officers, which is a time-limited funded post. We've got 3 off that we can supplement the staffing with, so there'll be 2 people out and about at any one time.
Thank you. And final question, did the grant cover all the costs for the various pop-up elements, furniture, IT, flags and so on?
We think so. We've only started the ordering. So we've been functioning at that branch location with books on tables in the cafe. So it's been sort of very slow start. So in the last few weeks, we've selected the furniture that we want, ordered the shelving, and we think we'll get everything that was pictured and a bit more well within the 4.5 that we asked for.
Excellent, thank you, and thank you for answering questions. And that's really good to clarify those things. So yeah, I'm just gonna. Oh, one more. Did your application include wear and tear?
No, it included what we've got in the offset, but obviously, you know, if it's a real success, it's something that we would probably either apply for more funding for or supplement ourselves.
Thank you very much, Dan, for coming to speak to us today. So I just wanted to reiterate that support that is available from Libraries Connected for microgrants applications, and the next round 3 opens on the 6th of January until the 17th of January. And we will be sharing the slides from today, the full evaluation survey for the webinar, and the top 3 proposals in an email following this session, as well as the recording. So do feel free to share the recording of today with your teams. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully this has been helpful.
Tessa, what time on the 6th will it be open from?
Probably 7 in the morning or something similar. We'll have it set kind of to, it will just open when it's ready, as the wonderful IT system allows us.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Pippa's just asked a question in the chat, and she's still just here on the call if you want to answer, about the amount of funds in the next round and how many projects are likely to be funded.
So can you hear me, Pippa? I'll just talk anyway, and I'll send you an email if you can't hear me. So for round 1, we actually didn't fund for the full amount, which is sort of I think around 75,000. So there was a bit that rolled over. So it will be either this. It will, if anything, is if we don't kind of award the full amount that is available for round 2. That will then again roll over into round 3. And this actually, so that the round 3 being open for the 2 weeks means that we will actually get more applications, I expect. So we will have more options to choose from. So we'll be able to fund from a wider range. Gemma, that was great.
Was
Thank
that
you.
okay?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
perfect.
good. Well, I used your bullet points and just kind of expanded a little bit. So hopefully
Oh,
that
that's
was
amazing.
just, yeah, a good overview for people.
Just kind of narrows it down, doesn't it? It's like we don't need it to be really long. It just needs to be the right information.
Yeah, just keep it clear.
Yeah.
Do you need me to send that PowerPoint? Although I did steal some images that I probably shouldn't have done.
I know. I was like, you don't see Bob Ross enough
Bob
in
Ross.
these sorts of events. Yeah, that'd be great if you could. Thank you. It will only be within libraries, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good. Thank you so
All right,
much.
no
Tess, there
worries.
was an issue with the polls, so I've done it in forms, but I've only got you pre-webinar 28 responses and post-webinar 17 responses. So
Yeah, so from the first webinar survey, we had 7 responses. So you've
Right.
already smashed
Got
us
a
out of the
couple.
park on there. So that's great. Sorry about the poll issue. I guess that's the library
looks like-
services
it
issues.
looks like it
with
might
it.
be local councils have their own
Yeah.
policies where they allow or don't allow certain things.
It didn't come up for me either. I think it's
Yeah.
probably our team's setting.
Ah, fine. Well, we tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you both soon.
Thank you. Take
Cool.
care.
See you
worries.
later. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Debbie.